All right, we're still back at context clues again today. And so far we have talked about definitions and pictures. We did appositives, which were just definitions surrounded by commas. And then in our last lesson, we did synonyms, which was just a tiny little bit trickier. But honestly, those have been three pretty simple ways to figure out what words mean, right? Authors don't always do that for us. It's really, really nice when they do, but it doesn't always happen. Sometimes they want to make us think just a little bit more, and that's what we're going to look at today. Today, we're instead of talking about synonyms, we're going to talk about antonyms. So just as a review, synonyms are words that mean the same. Antonyms, we're going to take that beginning prefix, we're going to relate it to anti things are the opposites of. So antonyms are words that mean the opposite. So today all of our context clues are going to be antonyms, and much like the synonyms, they're going to be found around the sentence and around the word, not necessarily in the same sentence as the unfamiliar word. So let's look at this today. So this type of context clue, like I said, is just a little bit harder than what we have been learning, but only the tiniest little bit harder. I'm trying to start you off easy and get just a little bit harder every day so that we're not overwhelmed with what we have to do this week. So today we're going to be getting our clues from antonyms in the text. We may have to look at sentences around our mystery words instead of in the same sentence, but the clues will still be there. You're a detective. Things don't get handed to detectives. They have to search them out. So please be prepared to do the slightest little bit of work today. Let's look at some examples. Instead of a grimace, Claudia had a big smile on her face. So grimace is our mystery word. Grimace. Instead of a grimace, that tells me we're about to learn something that's the opposite. So instead of this, let's do this. Instead of a grimace, Claudia had a big smile on her face. Do you see the antonym in the sentence? Remember, antonyms are words that are opposite. The opposite of a grimace in this sentence, instead of a grimace, she had a big smile on her face. So let's think of other words that could be the opposite of smile. A frown is the opposite of smile. A smirk is the opposite of smile. A sneer is the opposite of smile. So a grimace is the opposite of smile. So a grimace could be a frown or a smirk or a sneer. Sometimes we make a grimace on our face when we are in pain about something or sometimes disgusted by things. Like, ugh, grimace. Okay? So you have to remember that when you find the antonym in the sentence, it's an opposite word. Grimace does not mean smile. We have to think of other words that are opposite of smile to know what grimace is. So a grimace could be anything that's the opposite of smile. A grimace could be a frown or a smirk or a sneer. Those are the words that help us know what a grimace is. Let's look at another example. The woman abhorred cleaning, but she loved a spotless home. So the first part of the sentence tells us she abhors or she abhorred cleaning. The second part says she loves a spotless home. The word but in between there is the important word. We use the word but when we're going from one thing and we're turning to the opposite thing. It's not this, but it's this. Okay? So this is we have something that she does about cleaning. Abhorred cleaning. This is what she does about a spotless home. She loves it, right? So the antonym for abhorred in the sentence is loved. Okay, but now if my question on my work today asks me what abhorred means, am I going to put loved? No, because loved is the opposite of abhorred. So what's the opposite of loved? Hated, didn't like. A big word for hated is loathed. I loathed cleaning. So let's try, we know what hate means. It's the opposite of loved, hated. So let's try this word in place of abhorred. The woman hated cleaning, but she loved a spotless home. Makes total sense, right? So when I'm asked what abhorred means, it's the opposite of loved, and the opposite of loved is hated. You see how we're having to take our thinking out one more step than we did before? Let's go back and look at the sentence we looked at previously. I just want to make sure we're understanding this. The opposite of grimace is a smile, so we said it could be a frown. So instead of a frown, Claudia had a big smile on her face. So the meaning of grimace could be a frown. Instead of a smirk, she had a big smile. Instead of a sneer, she had a big smile. Grimace could mean any of these things. Grimace is the opposite of smile. Okay? I don't think I was super clear about that the first time, so I wanted to make sure that we got there. Okay? All of these words, hated, didn't like, loathed, all of those words help us to understand what abhorred means. Okay? So now it's time to practice this on our own. We're going to go and complete the assignment called number 4, context clues, antonyms. And again, this is where things begin to get just a little bit trickier. I still think it should be an attainable 100. You should take your time and be careful so that you don't make careless mistakes. Before you go, I want to look at today's form with you and make sure that that you understand what you're supposed to do. This is your assignment number 4, context clues, all about antonyms. You're going to type your first and last name here with appropriate capital letters. You're going to read each of the sentences below, and you're going to pay attention to the word in capital letters. You're going to choose the correct definition for the capitalized word in the sentence. You're also going to be asked what the opposite of that word is, what the antonym is that you found. Let's look at one together. You're actually going to have 2 questions for each sentence. So here's the sentence. When she accidentally pushed the beautiful cake off the table, the child demolished what her mother had created. So we're looking at demolished. I want to know first which word up here is the antonym for demolished. So is demolished the opposite of created, accidentally, mother, or beautiful? When she accidentally pushed the beautiful cake off the table, the child demolished. So the child demolished what her mother had created. So demolished is the opposite of created. Now, based on your answer to the previous question, that's this question here, what does demolished mean? Well, what is the opposite of to create something? If I create a sandcastle at the beach and then my brother comes along and he does the opposite of create it, what does he do to it? Does he destroy it, ugly it, father it, or pie it? He destroys it, right? So the opposite of created, which was our antonym here, we're going to say is destroyed. So demolished means destroyed. Here's how I know people don't watch the videos. People will get those 2 questions wrong, and I just gave you the right answers. I'm just saying. So just like these 2 questions, here's a sentence. You're going to find the word that's the opposite of complex, and then you're going to answer the question, so what is the opposite of complex? Which one of these words is the opposite of complex, or sorry, let me try this again. You're saying here, which word is the antonym, which word is the opposite of complex. So here you're saying what complex actually means then. Here you're finding the antonym for conceal, the opposite of conceal, and here you're telling what conceal actually means. Here you're telling the opposite of dissent, and here you're telling what dissent actually means. Here's the opposite of falsehood. Here's what falsehood actually means. It's going to take a little bit more thinking, and you're going to have to take your time and read the question carefully so that you remember kind of if you're answering the opposite or if you're answering the definition. It's clear in the answer choices. I typed them all out so that you wouldn't be confused, but you're going to have to take the time to read them to make sure you're answering what we're really asking. Okay? As always, I'm right here. Actually, I'm probably at school, and this is not school, but I'm right here for you. Just email me and I will be right with you. And if you're in person and you're watching this because you needed more help, that's great. Raise your hand. I'm coming to help you. Okay? All right. Go be word detectives, and I will see you again next time. Bye.